If you had told me when I was in my 20s during those health issues that I one day would be running obstacle course races, bouldering, and being able to contort and move my body in all kinds of ways, I would have been like, you are wildly dreaming.
Hello and welcome. I'm here with Erin Kleopa, mother of four, holistic health coach and entrepreneur, here to share her experience of her personal health transformation and how she is now helping other people to transform their lives through making changes that support their health journey. Erin, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Doing well. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
So I connect everyday people who are looking to make some sort of improvement to their health, to their energy, to their tiredness, to their pains in their body, digestive discomfort. I mean, you name it. I connect their problems with solutions that can help them feel better, look better, and ultimately support them to getting back to the life that was meant for them to live so that they can make the biggest impact in the world that they can.
So what started you on this journey? From what I understand, there's a little bit of personal history there. Before you started working to help others, you had a personal story of healing that kind of geared you in this direction. Would you mind sharing some of that?
Yeah, for sure. I was your typical young 20-something working full time, getting a graduate degree, going out dancing most nights of the week, sporadic exercise motivation, and following the standard American diet, which if you're in the sphere of healthy living at all, might know it's called the SAD diet. And I was having skin problems, had been for years, and I sought help for many years from dermatologists who put me on several medications. And I didn't know any better at the time. That's just what people did. If you had an issue, you go to the doctor, they give you a solution, you try to fix it, Well, in hindsight, I learned that I had really wrecked my gut health, and I developed some major health problems as a result. I was only 25, and I was moving around like a 90-year-old and living on ibuprofen and the SAD diet. So that is where my healthy journey began. It was someone in a healing profession, a chiropractor who's also a nutritionist, who redirected my ways and helped me rewrite my story into a healthy one. So I'm a big believer that God uses our hard to shape us and put us on the right path. I think there's purpose in everything. And it was after that rock bottom of my health that I finally found what I was passionate about. As a teenager looking at going to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew my only answer I could give was that I just wanted to help people, but I didn't know with what. I wasn't interested in being a doctor. I wasn't interested in being a teacher. But I just didn't know how I was supposed to help people. Just that I wanted to help people somehow. But when those health issues happened to me, it put me on this path of being passionate about learning how to change my ways, how to live healthier, how to help myself feel better. And from there, developed this passion to pay it forward and teach other people what I had learned so that they too could start feeling better and being able to move around without pain, have more energy, and make choices that I knew were going to support my long-term health and vibrancy, like decades from where I was that day and in that time in my life. So along the way, I became a certified holistic health coach, and about 4 years after my rock bottom, I found my current profession with Arbonne. So now I connect people with pure, safe, and beneficial products to support them on their health journey, whether they're just getting started or they're looking for the next step along the way, wherever they are. I didn't have Arbonne in the beginning when I was looking for tools to support. I really was, it's kind of like a self-motivated grassroots effort of trying to like figure it all out. But one of the things that I really love about what I currently do is that I have tools to offer people, in addition to my experience, that help them get started in an easier way than I did. So I consult with people, connecting their problems to solutions that Arbonne has to offer in terms of skincare, body care, and nutrition supplements to fill in the gaps of what the current food and product systems have to offer.
And you recently had some really big successes, from what I understand, in kind of a before and after of, you described a little bit of before, the difficulty moving around, the difficulty with different physical issues that you had. And then from what I understand, you've recently taken up running like marathons?
Not quite a marathon yet.
Not marathon?
But this is true. I mean, if you had told me when I was in my 20s or even during those health issues that I one day would be running obstacle course races and bouldering and being able to contort and move my body in all kinds of ways, I would have been like, you are wildly dreaming. But it's true. I made lots of switches the past 16 years to get me to where I am today. I'm 41 now. I've had 4 children. And so all along the way, constantly increasing knowledge and bettering my health in so many ways. And it actually wasn't until after I had my 4th kid that I got into the consistency of having movement that supports my body and my health. So in 2020, when you're looking for things to do, me and some friends picked up running by signing up for a virtual 5K. And I have to tell you, I did run some short indoor track when I was in high school, but since then was not a runner in any way, shape, or form. So when we signed up for the virtual 5K, which I have to say, the main reason I signed up was because the medal that they were going to send you in the mail had the abominable snow monster on it from Rudolph, and Rudolph is one of my favorite Christmas movies. So that's really the main reason that I signed up to do that race. But when I first started training for it, if you aren't aware, a 5K is 3.1 miles, and I trained running 5 times before doing that race. And the first time I tried to go 2 miles, and I was like, how can anybody run 3 miles in a row? Like, I don't understand how people can do that. And mind you, I've been on my healthy living journey for a while, was eating super well and had lots of other healthy practices in my life. But that exercise piece was one that had been missing. For the consistent exercise piece had been one that had been missing for a while. And after running that 5K, that group of friends, we decided to sign up for a 10K obstacle course race. And after signing up for that, not only did I feel a little bit tripped, but training for that for so many months it had a goal. So there was like this end point. There was a reason that I had to incorporate consistency into my habits for exercise now. And once I completed that race, it just opened up this whole new world of play and having fun with moving my body. So it doesn't, for some people, they're fine with the like peaceful monotony of just going for jogs or going for rides or just lifting weights. And that can be totally enough for people. But for me, I found this new opportunity to have fun, push my limits and see what my now very able body was able to do compared to a decade plus earlier. And I don't say this at all to boast or anything, but so many people made comments to me like, you did all of that after you had 4 kids, which a lot of people nowadays, after they have kids, a lot of women, what I hear from them is like, oh, like, oh, I've had 3 kids, so, this is just the way that it is now after my body's been through that. But in my experience and from what I have learned through what I have read, it doesn't have to be that way. And so it's really a privilege for me to set an example for others while I'm having fun and living my own life, but showing people what's possible and that there can be fun and there can be enjoyment, and the earth is a playground and there's so much to take in and experience. And I would not be able to do that if I didn't have these consistent, healthy habits, tools to help me do that and put my body and my mind and my heart in the best position to embrace all of that and help lead the way for others at the same time.
So can you talk a little bit about how the different kind of spheres of your health contributed to that journey? We've talked a little bit about the physical exercise and finding joy and having a proper motivation for the discipline required. What about some of the eating things, the beauty things, or like what are some of the other spheres that kind of contributed to that journey? And can you kind of bring that together for us?
Sure. So there are so many pieces that make us who we are. There's our physical body that we've been given to take care of. There's our mind, not only just like our thinking brain and like making decisions, but also like who we are as a person, what makes up our personality and the unique being that God has created us to be. And along with that, mental health, surrounding all of that stuff. There's the heart of who we are, and like finding our place in the world and doing the best that we can with what we've been given. There's just so many pieces. And so you mentioned eating wise. So back when I was going through my health issues, I can tell you, I literally was eating the SAD diet, the standard American diet. I was a grad student working full time, not living a great lifestyle, sleep wise or anything like that. And I mean, if you opened my fridge, it would look like complete opposite of what it does today. So if you opened my fridge 16 years ago, you'd see bottles of Coca-Cola lining the door. You'd see lots of bottles of sauces and pre-prepared foods. If you opened my cabinet, you would see lots of processed, unhealthy foods that weren't supportive of me feeling my best. And in the freezer, you'd see lots of frozen meals like frozen ravioli and all and ice cream and stuff like that. I mean, all of those things have their place. I am a big believer in like doing things in moderation, and not like any extreme, you can never have that again ever in your whole life. But all those pieces combined, I was not supporting the healthiest body that I could have. If you open my fridge today, you'd see a lot of whole, healthy proteins from animals that lived healthy lives and were cared for in the healthiest manner. You'd see a lot of vegetables and fruits, lots of whole foods, things that are the way that they were grown, or if you do see any foods that are not in their original format, for example, maybe there's some pasta in my pantry, but the only ingredient is rice. like, just really eating super simple. So my diet today that I have found best supports my energy and my body is eating a protein focused diet, but supporting that with healthy whole complex carbohydrates in the forms of fruits and vegetables. Occasionally some gluten-free grain, because it's really enjoyable, as most of us know. And also, supplements from Arbonne, because they're vegans. They don't have any unhealthy additives that might be inflammatory. They're also sourced in a way that's healthy for the world. We're really focused on keeping things sustainable for people and the planet. And they're also in the best form for your body to be able to absorb them. Now, if you're not in the realm of healthy living currently, you might not know that the food from decades ago is just so different from the food that you get today. It's just more nutritionally depleted based on how we've treated the soils and how things are grown now. And so there's a lot of gaps. Even if you eat the healthiest diet, there's still a lot of gaps nutritionally because they're just not as chock full of the nutrients that they once were. And that's where products like Arbonne's come in. They help fill in the gaps to complete a healthy diet and make sure that me and my family are supported nutritionally in the best way possible. And so today, that's how food comes into play for for me and my family. And if you're a parent, I'd have to say one of the best compliments I get about my kids. Now, I get lots of good compliments, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are shocked at the way my kids eat. And for them, it's all they know because it's all that we have ever presented to them, just eating things in a whole format ever since they were little. And so even as toddlers, like packing a lunchbox and like eating with friends at a picnic, they're like, how is your kid eating beet and zucchini and a chicken leg? Like, whereas their kids had some leftover Kraft mac and cheese and nuggets and maybe some veggie straws as like the veggie, because that's the only way they could get any form of veggie into them. And I'm not judging whatsoever. There's a lot of things in our world that convince us otherwise, that these are the best ways to get nutrition in. And I mean, there's all kinds of things that could be talked about in that realm, but that's one of the things that I've been like super blessed and continued to see so much good out of the hard that I went through, is that I went through that before I was married, before I had kids, and that has helped my entire family be on this good, healthy trajectory to do their best in the world as well. So I know that I'm equipping my family in the best way that I can as a parent, not only spiritually and mentally and with love, but like if we're talking about the physical, like supporting their bodies in the best way so that they can be all that they are meant to be to make their impact in the world too. I think I got really off topic from the original question, but
No, I love it. I love it. Can you talk a little bit about how making those changes, like how it affected your own health journey? Like you described a little bit about like the fatigue that you dealt with and the some of the chronic issues that you dealt with back when you were eating a certain way, and then you described some of the changes that you made. Can you kind of help us kind of tie together like the running the obstacle races and the health journey and all of that with some of the food choices and how those things have impacted and what you use the word supported that kind of health transition for you?
Yes, sure. So, years ago when my body was really suffering, a lot of the things that I was putting into my body were not supportive of not only my overall health, but you might hear that gut health is so key for so many, like almost every operation in the body, every function. So a lot of the foods that I was putting into my body at that time were highly inflammatory, and my body started talking to me. And each person's body is built differently, and those signs of high inflammation can show up dramatically different in different people. If I eat the same foods as somebody else, I might have achy, painful joints, bloating, and extreme fatigue. For somebody else, they might have migraines, blurry vision, low energy, and constipation, diarrhea issues. I mean, it shows up differently, and that's just all based on how our bodies are each uniquely built. But the core thing is the inflammation. And so I learned how to change what I was putting in my body so that my body's protective inflammatory response, what it was built to have, could be calmed down. And once that inflammation helps get calmed down, your body can focus its energy and use the tools that it has to support all the functions that are supposed to be happening normally all of the time in our bodies. So proper digestion, not living in pain, being able to move around and have the energy and capacity to use our body in so many different ways. Proper detoxification with the organs that are already inside us to do that. So many things. So when you change the input of what you're putting into your body, not only physically, but mentally, spiritually, that is all connected. And so I learned that first, the main impetus for me to change was all the physical stuff because it was so overwhelming for my body at that time. But along the way, as I had gains with my health, my focus changed. And as I continued to consume knowledge that helped me develop other healthy habits, that helped me refocus my mind and refocus my spirit and my faith on things that would also be supporting my overall well-being, that holistic well-being approach. So I learned
It's really interesting that the body is such a integration point for all of our lives, because everything that's going on inside in our internal life, internal being, our spiritual health, our mental health, our emotional health, our family, and all, like emotion, like connection with other people and all of that, and then externally our external situation, our environment, our community, all of our work, all of these things, all of those things come together in our bodies and affect our body. It's our body that integrates all of these things, and it's also our body that enables us to experience all of those things. So it's this strange and wonderful place of meeting and enabling all of these different aspects. And I think that's probably one of the things that makes it so difficult to diagnose in some ways, because like you said, someone could be having the same overall issue, but different foods or different situations are affecting them in different ways. And so it's both the cause and the symptom might be different, even though the underlying mechanism is actually the same. It can be overwhelming for someone who's trying to work through their own healing journey, and they have all these different things going on in their body that they don't understand how it all fits together, and they have so many different voices that are telling them, oh, try this, take this, do this. Um, what would you say to someone who's just like starting there? Like, where do they start to begin to kind of make sense of their own life and understanding the ins and the outs, but essentially the causes and the symptoms and how all that comes together in their body? Where would they start to kind of begin to understand that?
So if I use myself as an example, my impetus to start was all the physical pain that I was in and all my physical symptoms. And so the place that I started was, what is the fastest way to feel better? And originally it was just popping ibuprofen, but that wasn't cutting it. And so I sought out somebody who could give me information, something different than I had ever tried before. It can be scary to start something new. And somebody had recommended I see a chiropractor. And for me, in my experience, I had always heard like, oh no, chiropractor, like you don't want to get hurt. But in my experience, it was very different.
For some reason, they have. I think it's because they're so new on the scene. They have kind of for the people who are not kind of interacting with them or have not gone that route. They have kind of this reputation of being out there, but in my experience, they're actually one of the professions that have such a key insight into the integration of these different systems. So it's kind of sucks that they have that reputation, but hopefully that will begin to shift as the years go by.
Yes, I agree. Especially when people share about their good experiences. So I've referred so many people to my chiropractor and they've had good experiences too. So it's all very nice. But for people who are looking for where to start, choose something that's different. And I think for most people, if they can have an honest conversation of like, name 3 things that are hard. They might be hard choices, but what are 3 things that you think could help you, that you think could help yourself? And sometimes it's hard to face that because we don't want to, like, it feels too hard, or like it's so different from what I'm currently doing, like I don't even want to think about it because we just like put up a wall. But I think some people know a few of the beginning answers, and if they can be honest with themselves and say, you know what, let's just use myself as an example. It could be really hard to just throw out all those bottles of Coke that I bought that are in my fridge and not drink any of those. I mean, that's wasted money. I really love Coca-Cola. Like, but if I really ask myself, that's poisoning my body right now. And it's making things worse. And so I have to do the hard thing, let that go, put something different in my body. And so I think that is a starting point. And also something that I've read a lot about recently, and in my current profession, it is absolute truth as well. But research is showing more and more that relationships in your life are so instrumental in the health of almost every facet of your life. So in this particular area that we're talking about, getting started health-wise, talk to somebody. One of the things that in pondering this, sometimes if you're in a really hard spot, just start with something as simple as getting a really long hug from somebody who is meaningful to you. And research says 20 seconds or longer. And that is not how long people normally hug. But it's at that point, scientifically and physically, things start happening when you have an embrace that's at least that long. Connection with other people being in relationship with other people is so key in so many areas of healthy living, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And if you have a trusted person who you can talk to about what you're going through, not only can they provide you encouragement to take some beginning steps to get on the right path, but you might even find somebody who can help hold you accountable to sticking with those beginning steps. And I'd have to say, the first steps when you're first starting to make change, they're probably the hardest, because it's something that's so different from how you've currently been living. But I can tell you from experience and just from the way things normally go, that once you start making those first beginning steps and you start seeing those glimmers of hope and positive change, it's such motivation to keep going, and it makes the future decisions easier. Even though the decisions are harder compared to the ones you made in the beginning, because you're on that upward positive trajectory and you're feeling better and you're feeling encouraged and you're seeing wins in your body and how you're feeling and how you're living your life, things that you never could have comprehended, like for example, all the obstacle course race and bouldering, I never could have comprehended that like a decade and a half ago. But like when you make that progress, you can look back and see how far you've come. And when you learn new things that are going to support you on your journey, and you can start dipping your feet into other aspects of healthy living, like for me, it started physical, but then I could start focusing on the mental. I could start giving some attention to the spiritual. I could start tackling all the emotional, which had so much impact on the physical and mental and spiritual. You can start branching out and truly looking more holistically at your overall health, and that upward trajectory just broadens, and I'd have to say it gets easier.
I love that. Just the practical aspect of just pick somewhere and start. And you touched on something that I think is really important. And I've heard, for example, Jordan Peterson talk about picking something small enough that you can succeed at it. And often he talks about how often people fail to get going on change because they make goals that are too big too soon. And so starting off with those goals that are small and achievable before you start building towards that. And then going into what you're saying with connection and building that connection. And I'm definitely a hugger. I love hugs, and it's amazing. But the other part that I wanted to kind of circle back to is that the social aspect of change, and how I think a lot of people, one of the reasons that they have such difficulty making change is that people of a certain lifestyle tend to intermix and mingle with other people of that same lifestyle. And so when you're making these changes, especially if they're kind of major changes in your own life, it becomes not just about your own personal choice. It also becomes about logistically, how do you change all of these things, which is its own hurdle. But then it also becomes about, what do you do if all of your friends usually go to this certain restaurant on Friday nights to hang out, and that's where you get together? What do you do if your entire social circle kind of eats in a certain way, and it's not the way that's supportive of your own health? And it's been one of the things that I've definitely learned in my own health journey, is kind of whenever I start to pursue that, I start looking up YouTube videos regarding that. I start looking up Facebook groups regarding that. Just anything to kind of build like kind of build a door into that lifestyle, because it's not where I am. I'm not surrounded by people who live that way. Otherwise, I'd probably be living that way too. Do you have any kind of recommendations or any places people might go, any ways of developing that kind of social connection in order to support their own health changes and improvement and journey?
One thing that I can say is don't withhold talking about what you're doing. Don't withhold talking about your goals, changes that you're making, things that you're looking for. Going back to that like social connection, people want to feel important. People want to be helpers. There might be people already in your circles who can connect you with the people you're looking for. But if you never verbalize it, you would never know. Same thing. There have been people in my current circles around me who I didn't know were into that or passionate about this or whatnot. But once it was verbalized, oh my gosh, like we have this like brand new connection I never knew could have been there. And then it just like elevates and transforms the relationship. Also, try new things. So if you're into healthier living, look up healthier restaurants, ask people who you know to go with you. I know there's probably a myriad of social media accounts across different platforms. You can get connected in different groups. I don't have any particular ones to recommend, but look in your area and just look up things that you are interested in either developing or that you're already doing so that you can find local connections. A friend told me recently that meetup.com is still very alive. And so I personally am not a user of that, but just a tip, it's still very alive and people meet up for all kinds of things on Meetup. So you can probably find people that would be a way to find people in your local area who are into certain things. And just lastly, as a note of encouragement, just because you're making changes for different things in your life, whether it's setting new personal boundaries to better support your emotional or mental health, whether it is like changes to what you are physically putting in your body and you feel like that might put some like restrictions or limitations on going out to eat with your best friends or things like that. Find the support you need so that you can stay consistent. Nobody's going to be perfect. Going to make mistakes or like break new habits sometimes that may not be in your best interest for your overall trajectory. That's all okay. Be gracious with yourself. But one thing I can share is if you can uncover your why, your reason for doing these things, if you are truly grounded in this is what I want in my life. I want this because XYZ, fill in the blank. How is it going to change your life? I don't want XYZ in my life because this is what happens if it is. If you can connect to your bigger picture why for why you are making these changes in your life, it will empower you to stay more consistent and more committed, even when you are in situations or environments or around people that might want to take you back. So for me personally, do you think it was challenging to literally pack my own meal and take it with me and eat it in the restaurant next to my friends who were all ordering from the restaurant? That really made me stand out, didn't it? Mm-hmm. But I didn't have to miss out on the fun of my friend group going out to dinner. I've personally was grounded in the fact knowing that my body is getting better. I feel much better eating this way. My body hurts if I eat this particular food at this restaurant. So I felt completely satisfied eating the food that I brought, but still being able to enjoy some of the best relationships that I had in my life at that time. And so just a note of encouragement. Sometimes you might stick out compared to other people, but if you are firm in why you're doing something, you don't have to have the awkwardness or the weirdness that might come along with making those harder type decisions. But you know what? If you do feel a little bit weird, that's okay. You still know that you're committed and you are going to be better for it.
I love that. Connect with and be grounded in your why. It's such a powerful thing, and something that's kind of similar that when I'm helping people or coaching people that I do that's kind of in line with that is I think of it as helping them dream and just helping them imagine, because a lot of people don't. I kind of think of it as there's people who don't want to change. There's people who would change if they thought it was possible, and then there's people who want to change. And those are three types of people, and you can't inspire them the same way. The people who don't want to change, honestly, I haven't figured out how to do that, and maybe it's not my job to do that. But and the people who already want to change, those are the easiest. You just give them the resources, point them in the right direction, let them go. But the people who would change if they thought it was possible, those are the people that take the most work in my experience. And those are the people that I've found it really powerful to help them dream. And just questions like imagine what life would be like if you were completely healthy, completely had all the resources, all the energy, all this. What would you do? Where would you go? Where would you take your life? What would you experience? What would that be like? And maybe in this case, someone might say, "Oh, I'd climb Mount Everest," or something. I mean, something that sounds outrageous right now, maybe where they are right now, but helping them say, if all of the restrictions that I currently face are out of the way, what would I dream then? And kind of helping them engage with that. Oh, that would be so fun. What are you excited about that? What would you be? What about that draws you? And really kind of dig into that. And I've found that even people who don't currently think it's possible, they begin wanting it. And then it's like, okay, well, what's between you and that? What's something that you could get rid of that's between you and that? And then you start giving them a way forward, but it starts with dreaming about what's possible. Otherwise, they'll never start pursuing it. And I love how you talk about connecting with the why of, this is why I don't want what I have. This is why I want what I'm going for, and being grounded in that. There's another part of it that I recently watched a video. I forget if it was a TED Talk or something like that, but basically there was a study done on seniors who they were walking with canes. They were a bit decrepit. They were having difficulty moving around and all of that. And I think the study was over the course of just a week, but basically the researchers brought these people in and they surrounded these people with pictures of when they were young. Pictures like, I don't know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but newspaper clippings from when they were back in their 20s, and pictures of them when they were back in their 20s, and just engaging with them in that way, kind of reminding their brain of that time. And according to what I saw, by the end of the week, those people who came in walking with canes were out playing touch football. And it had to do with reminding your brain of reminding it to live. And saying, hey, remember this. You sometimes in order to stop dying, you need to start living.
That's so true.
It's such an amazing like such an amazing part of that, and connecting with the why and dreaming and surrounding. For them, it was like surrounding themselves with pictures and clippings and reminders and all of that stuff. And my wife and I have talked about different ways that we can do that around our own house. But just these different ways of kind of grounding them in their why is so powerful. There's one thing that I would love to kind of dig into a little bit, because it's a huge barrier up front for people, are the logistics and kind of the feasibility of it. And you talked about feeding your kids, preparing all your meals from scratch, bringing your lunches, packing your lunches, all that. That can be kind of a huge barrier for people who've never lived that lifestyle. It seems like a ton of work to take on. Do you have any thoughts on like how to kind of make that transition, start doing more of that? Do you have any ways that people might be able to branch into that way of life?
For one thing, it takes some resolve. It's really it's tough sometimes not to be able to, well, I say not to be able to choose not to just run to Chick-fil-A and feed my family of 6, because it would have been fast and easy. I didn't prepare ahead. I didn't defrost something, or I didn't run to the grocery store in time. And that's when that we're in an age of convenience. We're in an age of getting quick fixes or wanting quick fixes. And treating your body in a healthier way isn't always convenient. It usually is. It takes more prep. It takes some planning. There's the phrase, what is it? Fail to prepare, or prepare to fail. So you have to prepare to succeed. So that means having things on hand that can be made more quickly when you are in a pinch, so that you don't find yourself just running out to a drive-through. And having tools that make it helpful. Sometimes that means investing in a blender or a food processor that can chop something much faster than if you chopped it by hand. Sometimes that means, for some people and their weekly routine, that means setting aside a couple hours on the weekend to prep food for the week, so that things are so much easier, especially in today's life. Especially, I know as a parent with 4 kids who have various activities every day after school, how important my Instant Pot or Crock Pot are. Cooking double or triple, knowing that the next day was going to be super busy so that we could just have leftovers. So it's a different state of mind, having to be like thoughtful and planful if you're not used to doing that. So, but it is a skill that can be developed, is what I can say. So even if you feel like, oh, that sounds so hard, like, oh my gosh, how much work would that be? Sounds like it would just take up all of my time. It doesn't have to. It doesn't take up all of my time. In the beginning, well, again, when you're starting something new, it feels like it takes a lot of effort, and there's learning involved, time learning what to do, researching recipes, A, that your family likes, and B, that supports the health, the healthy living journey that you want to be on. Some of those things do take time, but when you find the tools that support you, and that's part of where Arbonne comes in for my family and a lot of the clients that I help. It's the easy and fast tools that support us in getting us to where we want to be health-wise. So when you can have the right tools in your toolkit and in your home, it makes it so much easier to stick with it and like maintain that path. Because like I said, once you get on the path, it gets easier. it gets easier, but it is the getting going. You have to be patient with yourself, and having people to support you who can pass on that knowledge, pass on the tools, and the relationships that can support you in the healthiest ways, to get on and stay on that path. All those things are so critical to being successful.
Thank you. But plan to fail to plan, or plan to fail, that sort of thing. That it really has been my experience, where if even just whether or not I remembered to take something out of the freezer, I might have gone to all the work to prepare it ahead of time, but if I didn't take it out of the freezer the night before so that it's ready to cook or ready to heat up or something, that's usually one of the deciding factors on whether or not we go out to eat that day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big one.
Yeah. Well, and it's not my wheelhouse, and that's not the topic of this conversation, but find what systems that work for you to support you in that. For me, it's reminders on my phone. I have so many reminders go off. There's no shame in whether it's writing a list of things on a piece of paper. They say write it down the night before, so that the next day you don't even have to think. You already know what you have to do. Or for me, I like these reminders that pop up at the specific time that I would need to read it. Oh yeah, time to get the meat out to defrost. Like that. Just find things that work for you, that help you be successful.
So we're kind of wrapping up things at the end here, but I want to do a couple quick things. One, would you be able to do like just kind of a rapid fire? What are 10 things to buy from a grocery store in order to support your health journey? Like if someone starting today, they want to like start making some changes, they've thrown out the Coke bottles, like what 10 things do they need to go get from the grocery store in order to support their shift?
Okay. So a few things you could get from your own Arbonne store, because the grocery store version, if I could only name things from the grocery store, I'm like, well, some of those things Arbonne has, and they're much cleaner and in a better form for you. And something that has been helpful for me would be having a protein shake, because protein is so important. It's the building blocks for who we are, is having the correct protein and amino acids. And also in this day and age, something that's quick. And so I would say a protein powder that's healthy and clean, especially if it's vegan, because the non-vegan ones are usually, they add to your inflammation. I would say probiotic. Also, few versions in my Arbonne store that I use, but grocery stores do have probiotics. And I'd say, I don't know, I can't list specific fruits and vegetables necessarily, because every person's body is unique, and you have to find the ones that support you and give you the energy that you need, because people are in different states and need different things. But I can say that mushrooms are really good for your immune system and your brain, so they would be something to look at. And then root vegetables are very grounding, and they have a lot of nutrients that are good for detoxification, for your supporting your liver, kidneys. And then if you're going to choose some fruits to get some healthy sweetness, I mean, God gave us all the different sections of our tongue that have all the different tastes, sweet, bitter, sour. I mean, it's good to have all different things in the diet that hit those. So your root vegetables are going to get you some of the bitter, but it's for a reason. But if you want some of the sweet, go for low glycemic fruits. In particular, berries are really good for that. Apples, as well as lemons and limes. If you put those over top vegetables, over top your protein, squeeze it in your water. Those are super good for detoxification and lowering inflammation as well. And then You always hear about those greens. Not only does Arbonne have a greens powder that makes it easy to get in, like the whole rainbow of fruits and vegetables in a serving, but you should also have some whole vegetables in your diet. Leafy greens are great, but also those cruciferous vegetables are a great healthy carb to have. So like your zucchinis, your broccoli, cauliflower, things of that nature. If you haven't heard it before, shopping around the outside aisles of the grocery store is your friend. That's where everything has to plug into a wall to be refrigerated to keep it alive. So that's where you're going to find your whole meats, your whole fruits and vegetables is the perimeter of the store. A lot of the stuff in the middle of the store is shelf stable and highly processed, and you likely don't need it.
Thank you for going through that. Can you talk a little bit about just resources that you'd recommend, books, products, even appliances that have helped you in your establishing this lifestyle? You've talked about your Arbonne supplements. If there's anything else that you'd like to bring up with that, or educational resources. You talked about how important education was for your own journey and how important it is to make that transition. Do you have any resources that you'd like to just spout off, share about things that would help other people?
Sure. One thing that I would like to say is that if you're listening to this, it's probably because you want to learn, or probably because maybe you're going through something in your life or your health that you are looking for support, or aren't sure if you need support, but do I need help or not? I would say for sure, if you're feeling things in your body or your mind all of the time that is not adding to your joy and you being able to live a fulfilled life, choose something to start to try to make a difference in that. Whether you're feeling fatigue or low energy, unrestful sleep, irritable all the time, hormone swings, skin problems, irregular bowel movements, reacting to foods, like whatever it might be, find some support. You're not meant to live like this all of the time. You were not designed to feel this way all of the time. And there are people and tools that exist to support you and want to support you for living a better and fuller and more joyful life. So please start today, something small to get you on your way. The most things that I have taken in to learn has been through reading. So one suggestion that I have is finding some books that really seem to resonate with where you want to grow. And that may change over time. In the beginning, I read books that had all to do with physical health. These days, what fills me up is reading personal development stuff that helps with me with my spiritual health or my mental fortitude. One book that really got me on the journey emotionally and spiritually, if you're looking for that piece, is a book called Claim Your Power by Mastin Kipp. That is it's a 40-day reading experience. And so you don't read it all at once. You can't plow through it. The point is to take you on a journey, and it's just a little bit each day. So especially if you feel like you're not really a book reader, just having to read one little chapter a day and have one task a day, that's a great place to start. And for me, that book was recommended to me, and I was a little skeptical just because of the topic and whatnot, but it was very transformative. So Claim Your Power by Mastin Kipp. One book that's really great for starting habits is a book called No Excuses by Brian Tracy. So that's really good for helping you with your willpower and starting new habits that you want to incorporate into your life and connecting to that why. Why are we doing it? Why are we sticking with it? no excuses. And then if you are looking for something that's spiritually focused, especially if you believe in God, then I would highly recommend Chase the Lion by Mark Batterson. That is a book that I could read over and over again and would never get tired of it. Highly motivational for the spiritual side of me. When we work on the inside of us, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, it has so much influence on the choices we make on the outside. Many of us need an impetus for change, and that's where we kind of find the purpose in the hard things that happen to us. That, I mean, I believe everything happens for a reason. So a lot of us end up going through something tough that makes us want to change. But you don't have to hit rock bottom like I did with my health. Whether you're at rock bottom or not, work on the inside of you as well as the outside, because it has so much to do with your reason for doing all those outside changes. So those are 3 books that I'm really great with. And then outside of that, if you can find some people in the health world that share information that's what you're looking for, like if you want to try a vegan diet, if you want to try to do things more holistically, if you feel like you need support with taking gluten out, or, different things like that. There are so many people out there who are experts, but who offer tons of free resources. So subscribe to a few of their newsletters. That has always given me tons of little tidbits of reading material that I can take in every day in just a couple minutes, and I'm adding to my knowledge and adding to my wisdom and giving me new inspiration to either stay on track or to, even at my point in my health journey, to constantly be trying new things to see how they do for me. And then if you it's so easy to unsubscribe if it ends up not being what you wanted or what you're looking for. But there are so many free resources out there. Just look around and try a few things and get started.
Thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation, just talking about your own journey and going really from fatigue and dealing with all of these chronic issues to running races and obstacle courses, and the transition you've been able to make in your own in health and how you eat, and now how you're able to feed your family, and the change that you're able to make in your own life, and then taking that to other people through your experience, through sharing these products, through sharing the connections with other people. It's an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
You're so welcome. I'm very grateful for being able to share, and if it can help anybody in any way get started on their path to healing, that would be a complete reason to have gone through everything that I've gone through, if even one person can be helped. So thank you.